So how are you doing?
I'm great, thank
How's
you.
you shaking my very cold hands of Haley?
I'm so excited to be here. It's so much fun to talk to people who've actually seen episodes of the show now. It's getting out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what a giant show. It's so big.
Yes.
I'm wondering how you squared that away when you first started. What was the nugget of the idea that became adapting this massive thing into a show?
You know, I mean, the nugget of the idea, I mean, obviously, I am dealing with a super popular franchise already. We're based on the books. There's also very popular video games that a couple people have heard of. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of material out there. I connected with the story because of the three main characters, Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri. And really, for me, the most important thing was making sure that every episode came back to one of them, to building them up as these fully fleshed out, complicated, layered characters, and eventually bringing those characters together and allowing them to start to intersect. And so it's fun. It's been fun to add in all the bells and whistles of fantasy that people expect. So you get lots of monsters and lots of magic, and there's blood and there's sex, there's everything. But also there are these characters, and it's their story and their journeys. And I think that's what people are actually going to continue tuning in to see.
I want to talk about the music on this show, especially Coin to Your Witcher, because that is a genuinely great song.
Oh, good.
It has been stuck. I watched the first 5 episodes last night, and the song is stuck in my head for like 24 hours straight. I'm wondering how that started on the page, and how that then and everyone involved in production made that song happen.
So hilarious that it's been stuck in your head for 24 hours, because I anticipate that it will be about 72 total.
Fair.
From experience.
I'll get back to it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I was just saying, like, when I'm on a mixed stage and I heard it laid into the show for the first time, it was stuck in my head for days. We go with a really sort of organic approach with our music, which is the writers actually write the lyrics to their songs. Because to me, the important thing about putting music in a story is it needs to reinforce the story that we're telling. So the writers themselves would write the lyrics if we were having a Jaskier song in the episode. And then our amazing composers, Sonia Belasova and Jonah Ostinelli, they came in and worked on the composition behind it and the orchestration behind it. And oftentimes they would send me several different versions. Sometimes, I would send things back with notes. But it's incredible because what I love is letting people do their jobs really well with a skill set that I don't have. I don't know much about music, so I should never compose anything, nor should I put all of my ideas on what is being composed. And there would be times that Sonia and Jonah would come back to me and lay in a comedic song where I thought a super serious, earnest one should go. And to me, it's the music is one of the things that really sets the tone of the entire piece, and I think they've done an incredible job.
So when you have a character like Geralt, who's notably stoic, people comment on it. It's just sort of the Witcher's thing. I'm wondering how, in the writing process, what steps you take to still make him relatable when he so much of the time is this solid brick wall of a human being.
It's a great question because, in fact, in the books, Geralt talks a lot. He espouses everything. You learn everything that's going on in his brain. He is telling a character named Iola a story the entire first book, The Last Wish. He talks a lot. So the very first script that I wrote, Geralt talked a lot. And then I met Henry. And when Henry and I started collaborating on this character, at first, he was just doing all the lines as they were scripted, and then we were on set together and we started to talk about it, and we realized that we have an asset that none of the other sort of mediums have when adapting The Witcher, which is we have actors who have faces that can make great expressions or grunts or looks of to the side. It was a really fun experiment to sort of start pulling back on Geralt and to see just how much could be communicated with very few words. And it's one of the things that I think Henry is best at.
Are you aware of how popular and widespread the image from the Witcher game of Geralt in the bathtub is? And I'm wondering how important it was to you to get that into the show, which you did very, very very seamlessly.
It's yes.
Short answer.
Yes, I am a member of the human population, so I have seen that meme. What was fun for us, obviously we're not adapting the video games. The video games are an adaptation of the books too, so they're pulling from the same source material we are. But I also know, especially being an American myself, that a lot of especially American audiences are mostly familiar with the games. They didn't even know that books existed. So they are part of our hopeful fan base. And it's just a little wink and a nod to them to tell them that we see them too.
And something I love in any show is when you have monsters with a practical nature to them.
Yes.
I'm wondering how important in the planning process everyone was in getting that aspect into the show.
It's so important because to me, there are so many things that can be gratuitous in television. I think you can have gratuitous violence, you can have gratuitous nudity, and oddly, you could have gratuitous monsters, which means we could suck up all of our CGI budget or our prosthetics budget, putting monsters in every scene. But then at some point, you're going to get really bored of Geralt killing them because they mean nothing. It was really fun to dig into the monsters that are in the books that have these incredible backstories and have these incredible drives, and put Geralt in a place where he's discovering it with the audience. The Striga was absolutely my favorite monster to develop and bring into the series because it's when you're brought into the story, you hear about this monster that is absolutely decimating a town and killing everyone, and it seems really simple. Geralt needs to go in and kill the monster. And I loved flipping that on its head and seeing when he meets the Striga and he learns that it's actually a cursed little girl. And he makes the decision to try to save her instead. And I think it's a really unexpected way to tell the stories. Those are my favorite monsters that have, I don't know, their own personalities and their own points of view.
For sure. So this is going to touch a little bit on getting a little bit into spoilers, so I will not share this question until after premiere. I'm wondering when you decided how you're going to tell the story, the way it's broken up into different time periods, because I don't think that's something that is even revealed in the marketing. I think the fact that this is taking place across different timelines is really interesting. It's an interesting way to tell the story. I'm wondering how that decision came about.
We have purposely held that back in marketing. Although any fan will tell you that as they started to piece together what stories we were telling, and they can say, well, Ciri's not alive in those stories, which is the reason that we did it. It started from a very practical place, which is I knew that there were short stories from The Last Wish that I wanted to adapt. But we're missing one of our main characters, sometimes both of our main characters in those stories. And it was equally important for me to introduce Ciri and Yennefer much earlier in the series. They're really intriguing characters, and they are as much a part of Geralt's journey as Geralt himself is. And so I wanted to build them up and sort of fully form them, give them their own independent desires and their own independent journeys before they met him. So I really had a conundrum. How do I do both of these things? And I watched Dunkirk, the movie. And I had read an interview with Christopher Nolan after I saw it, and he was talking about his timelines, because there are also 3 timelines in that movie, and each one of them is, one of them's just a day, one of them's a week, one of them's a month. They're all different times, but when he was talking about making the movie, he said, if I told them in order, you would think that the mission that took a day was the least important part of the process, when in fact it was just as important as the one that took a month. And I, no kidding, had one of those moments where I hopped out of the shower and said to my husband, could I do that in this show? And he was like, is it going to be difficult? And I was like, that's fine. I'm up for the challenge. But can we do it? And it was the first time that I felt, oh my God, I know how I want to tell these stories. And to the credit of the writer's room, when they came on, I was like, it's really confusing, or it could be really confusing. And they were all in on making it work.
Amazing. And one last thing, I'm curious what part of the process you are on season 2 and how deep into that you are, because I think you start filming early next year.
We'll start filming in 2020. Wow, saying that word is weird.
It's only like a week away though.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, we will not start filming in a week. But we are at the point where we know the stories we want to tell. We're in the process of telling them, but all the pieces are just starting to come together. For now, I'm just so excited. I've been living with this project for over 2 years, so I'm so excited for the rest of the world to finally see it.